Our lives are a string of insights, flashes of inspiration that can be the catalyst for new ideas. However, our pace of life these days means we tend to miss some of them completely. I'm Dave Hill, and I'm the host of the Simple Reflections podcast, a fortnightly series of interviews with people from all walks of life. Our conversations are an invitation to reflect on some of the simple insights my guests have had that have gone on to have a profound impact on their lives. So grab a cuppa and a biscuit, join us, slow down for a little while and see what shows up for you. Welcome to the next episode of the Simple Reflections podcast. Today I'm joined by a lovely chap called Dunzan. Dunzan's an American living in Vietnam. He's been there for the best part of four years and has made Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon his home. And seems to be loving life as a result of that. Originally, he was called Dave Berman, and he changed his name to Dunzan because of the fact it means simple. And he has a desire to make things as simple as possible for people, as I do. You know, this is the Simple Reflections podcast. My company is Simplicity in Mind, and Dunzan is looking to let it be simple with whatever it is that he's doing. We first crossed paths on Heartfelt Presence, something that we both volunteer to try and help people around the world that are struggling in various different ways. And I really enjoyed spending a brief amount of time with him when we've shared calls together. And I thought it'd be lovely to get to know him a little bit better here today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dave. I'm excited to see where our conversation goes. I enjoy hearing you talking to other people. So I'm glad we're going to get to talk today.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to see where we end up, what gets uncovered, and see where we go. Before we hit record just now, you very kindly offered me the opportunity to slow down. I was, without realizing it, running a little bit hot in terms of things weren't quite set up my end, and I had an energy in me that probably wasn't going to serve the pair of us. And I just wanted to thank you for pointing that out to me, allowing me to see that for myself and creating the space for me to slow down there. I just wondered how you've seen the idea of slowing down over the years, and what's really catching your imagination about that at the moment.
I've had a great sort of fascination with now for a long time. I think maybe the blur effect is going to make this weird, but on my left wrist is a tattoo that says now. And I've had this notion that we can slow down to the speed of now. And my experience shows me that when I'm at the speed of now, I'm aware of being infinite. And when I speed up and I'm really not in the now, I'm often pretending not to be infinite. And that's just another way of saying things that a lot of other people say, like we are both, as you mentioned, involved with the Heartfelt Presence community, which is built around Sydney Banks' teaching of the three principles. And this idea that sometimes we can see how thought taking form is what's responsible for our feelings, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just don't notice that. What I'm talking about, being infinite and sometimes pretending not to be, it's kind of the same idea. But when I connect with people who are new to this idea of being infinite and slowing down, and like that's what's there to notice, that's a beautiful place to explore. So I'm glad that you brought our real world moment just before we recorded into the introduction here. I mean, what do you get about being present, being in the now? Do you see how you're infinite?
I don't think I've thought about it in those terms. Um, um, but
Dave, ask me my favorite compliment.
what's your favorite compliment?
Well, it's amazing. I hear this all the time. People say something like, "Well, I never thought of it that way before." So thank you. Now that you are looking at it this way, what do you notice?
Yeah, I hadn't put the word infinite on it. I probably have. I have my own words for it, which means the same
Yeah,
thing, which is
of course.
there's a sort of timelessness to it, which
Yeah.
is that is the same as infinite. But I hadn't made that connection, so I'm going to have fun playing with that. Um, yeah, when life is feeling busy for me, um, sometimes that is exhilarating. It can feel exciting, but actually, I if I give myself the space to slow down and experience what's going on, I suppose the headiness of adrenaline disappears, but the excitement probably amplifies. But I don't know what it is. There's something about adrenaline that drives you want to have more of it, or you sort of ride the wave of it. But when you let that go, I've certainly found that I'm more attuned to what's actually going on, both for myself and just generally in life. And the the analogy that springs to mind for me is, you know, I am I've dabbled with surfing. I'm not a surfer. When I'm trying to surf, there's a sort of buzz and an excitement to it, and then there's just feeling what's going on, and everything tends to go a little bit more smoothly rather than thinking about it. So I suppose those are the difference. There's when I'm more present, when I'm more attuned to what's actually going on, and I've slowed down, I'm more going with the flow of what is rather than trying to force it, which is probably where I was at the start of the call.
Yeah, I resonate with that. I like to say, may the allow be with you.
Yeah.
If we're forcing something, that's not where we want to be coming from.
Yeah.
But when we surrender, when we allow, when we see, just like you're saying, more of what's going on, would you say that also part of that seeing what's going on? Like, is it would you use these words to say, to see more clearly who I really am?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So it's lovely that we can find so many words that point in the same direction. We're giving them similar or the same meaning, but it's because we're looking in the same direction. So when I say I'm infinite, sometimes pretending not to be, when I come into the speed of now and I begin again to see the ways in which I'm infinite, I feel like that's the same as seeing who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
So these words are all pointing in the same direction. And when I have this kind of experience where what we're developing or cultivating or uncovering together, it seems to me like we're recognizing a shared understanding. Is that fair to say? Do you feel that?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm not looking for or aiming for. Like, this is just the experience that happens over and over and over. When I slow down and I get, like, in words like rapport don't seem sufficient. Like, it's connection.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting into the experience of connection at a level or on a basis of shared understanding. That is my highest love language. And it's got nothing to do with romance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this comes up in all different contexts. Like, the depth of connection that I experience through shared understanding. That's my highest love language. And honestly, the thing I've been noticing lately is there's been a steadiness that's kind of new for me. The steadiness of, like, holy shit, just about every conversation I'm having these days, we get to this, this depth of connection. And it's not like I've never been here before, but lately there's this steadiness, this consistency that's just happening through, like, all my conversations. So I notice it. That's all. I'm just noticing it, and I'm sharing that I'm noticing it, because I think that helps me notice it more.
Absolutely, yeah. Connection is everything, and the more we are aware of how that is created within ourselves and in everybody else, the more aware we are of the capacity of it always being available with anybody at any time.
Yes.
100% of the time.
Yes.
Well, it only needs one person in a crowd to understand that and becoming into the world and creating themselves in the world in that way that allows that to ripple out and people to have a shared experience of that. And then have a conversation about it. That's what this whole podcast is about. You've mentioned different ways of explaining how I see things in ways that I hadn't joined the dots on before. But now that I have, I'll probably start seeing that more. That was the whole idea of this. This is, let's think about this. This, I think, will be the 54th or 55th episode when it comes out. That is layers of stories, all pointing in the same direction, all with subtly different language. That's mind-blowing in my mind, because I've learnt from every single one of those. It's made me a better listener. It's made me realize for myself how this is available all the time. And therefore I go out in the world with that understanding and experience more of it like you are at the moment. And I think that's the gift of this whole conversation, is taking the covers off people's perceptions of how we connect, what's possible, and showing them the simplicity of the design that they already beautifully are to start off with.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly sort of where I'm coming from. That's exactly how I would love for everyone to sort of greet me or meet me in that space with that spirit. It's not that I'm infinite and you're not. It's that we're infinite. We, I am because we are. This is Ubuntu, which is another idea that I find just that one sentence definition seems to be a form-based representation of the formless ideas that we're talking about, being infinite, thought, mind, and consciousness is one coin. And on one side is the formless, spiritual nature of this. And then on the other side, I don't know a better, more succinct expression that allows us as human forms to relate to each other and organize ourselves. I am because we are. I feel like that's what's behind, or even deeper than what I said before about shared understanding, allowing me to notice the experience of depth of connection. Because the fact of our connection is never changing. We're one infinite formless being. That doesn't change because of what words I use or what understanding you or anybody else has. So that just is. We can talk about what is in countless ways. And I'm just loving that the ways that have been showing up for me to talk about this stuff have been just in a real sweet spot, you know? Where for me, the purpose, like what I feel guided by is the more we see that we're infinite, the simpler everything is. It's like the saying, when all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, to me, it looks like when all you've got is infinite, everything looks simple.
It's cool. It's cool. I love it. There's that, you know, some will potentially see that as scary, and because of the enormity of it. But that's, you know, that's an understanding thing for them. That's, you know, that there's a story they've created about, oh my goodness, that is enormous, that's scary. What's exciting is, as you saying, looking at the opposite side of the coin, seeing what other things are possible with this same story. What else is available here? And I think the key to seeing things at a deeper, simpler level is just showing up with curiosity, and seeing, okay, right, well, this is how it feels at the moment. That doesn't feel particularly good. Okay, what else is there? And all of a sudden, that solid, concrete, unpleasant thing just cracks a little bit, and more options flow out of that for us to get playful with, and see what story we create about that is either more or less uncomfortable. But again, it's guiding us to realize that, you know, there's nothing here to sweat too much about. Let's just slow things down again. It comes back to that. When things are uncomfortable, we tend to be running hot. We tend to be running a bit faster in our mind that we might need to, and changing gear, slowing down, seeing what else is available, creates all kinds of possibilities that we hadn't seen before.
Well, I've noticed that your infinite storytelling supply is always available.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's generated by your infinite creativity supply that's always available. You've got an infinite perception supply that's always available. And, you know, it would probably be really easy to just make a list of like hundreds of words that could fit in a blank in that sentence. Your infinite blank supply is always available. But I would never do that because I'm not trying to point people to words. The thing is, the examples that I just gave and others that I've given in other contexts, like the simple book of infinity, the only examples that I ever refer to are ones that I've experienced. All this stuff about infinity and simplicity, I'm only able to share about from experience. Like, there's nobody who could have taught me what experience taught me. And I think that's true for everybody. Like, if anything I'm saying is interesting to you as a listener, or you, Dave, personally, like, you have to look at it through your own experience. And like many people, Sid Banks being one, many people who share spiritual understandings or philosophical understandings will say, it's not in my words. Don't listen to my words. It's beyond the words. Like, that is kind of also my point too. I would just say more specifically, you have to find in your own experience the infinite. That's always available. And maybe you just never thought about it this way. Literally now, after now, every new now, whatever it is you're perceiving, you're creating that perception. That's your infinite creativity supply, always available, your infinite perception supply. Like, you're already having the experience of being infinite, just pretending not to, or not aware that you are. But that's where you'll find all the evidence. It's in your experience, not in my words.
We've created a world where there are facts that people hang on to as true, in a way that how they're described, and that they can stand behind and go, yeah, that works for me, which creates separation, and sort of clumps people together. And if something is shared that doesn't fit with that, it normally leads to either some form of conflict, or you're not my kind of people, I'm not going to speak to you, and there's some form of separation. What I've really been noticing in the last 8 years of exploring this as an idea, is exactly what you were saying around experience. Things that I have experienced have gone, oh wow, yeah, that's how I see things right now, has created some clarity for me in that moment about how I operate. Now, in the past, I might have codified that and sort of made that part of me. Now I just see that's how I'm seeing things right now, but there's possibility to see things differently in the next minute, the next second, whatever. And that is exciting. And also, there's nothing wrong with how I see the world right now.
Right.
That is perfect for me right now. It's
Yeah.
allowing me to operate in the world because there's no other way that I can do that. Um, but equally, I don't have to hang on to those thoughts and those ideas and those stories if they are no longer serving me.
Right.
Um, and the way I've come to realize whether something is serving me or not is based on how it feels. Does this feel good?
Yeah.
Does this feel comfortable for me rather than good? And good might paint the wrong impression. Does this feel comfortable? And if it does, it's probably doing me a good job. Let's see where we can go from there. And if it's feeling uncomfortable, okay, what is it? Am I sitting in a puddle? Is there something that is physically discomforting and that I can do something about? Partly accepting it because okay, I've now got wet pants, but there we go. I can do something about that, or I can get frustrated by it. Um, or I can just live with it. There are all kinds of options there. But I think the more loosely I hold the stories I create about my world, the freer I am to operate within it, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think I've found that in my experience too. Yeah. I, I'm hearing you say basically um, you can distinguish between your current story and the infinite possible stories that you could choose instead. But
Mm,
this is the one you're going with for now.
yeah, yeah. And my life is built on a bunch of stories behind, some of which may not align anymore with how I see the world now. And that is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's what's new and exciting for you at the moment?
Well, two things pop into mind. One is words. So it's like maybe a little bit less interesting, but this phrase minimalism of thought came to me recently, and I'm seeing how empowering it's been in allowing me to make different choices about where to put my attention. So maybe procrastinating less or getting distracted less, being interested in fewer details about certain things, or even uh, being unwilling to entertain certain things. Like it's outside the scope of the quiet, peaceful mind that I maintain. And so minimalism of thought uh, is just a new way of looking at, I guess, some filtering that my mind does and probably always done and can do in different ways. So this has been a helpful insight for me. And then the second thing is that I've created some new community space, both on WhatsApp and on Discord. And it's just a place to be having discussions and experiments and explorations and discoveries about the things we're talking about here. It's called Let It Be Simple. And it's seeing the simplicity of our infinity. And, how, like Jamie Smart says, when you've got nothing on your mind, you're free to give your best.
Mhm.
I love that quote. That kind of goes along with minimalism of thought. So, yeah, there's a different feeling I get when my mind is quiet compared to when my mind is busy, full, sped up. So the whole slowing down, letting my mind be quiet, that's seeing the simplicity of that, seeing how the nature of thought gives us amazing gifts around our ability to, I don't always like to say it this way, but for some people, they want to hear it as emotional regulation.
Hmm.
Like in particular, people with ADHD, who I'm interested in serving and supporting, helping people who think of themselves as neurodivergent to see that they're actually neuro unique, that we don't have a single point from which all divergence emerges.
Hmm.
And we don't have a limit to neurodiversity. So it's unlimited, it's infinite, and it's uniqueness. And so this is part of the Let It Be Simple community that I've created, is this idea of neuro unique as a paradigm rather than neurotypical and neurodivergent as a spectrum,
Hmm.
not not one dimensional and finite, infinite directions. We are infinite in all directions.
Mm. Yeah, that's cool. I can see how we've ended up with a spectrum because it's again people trying to create some form of simplicity to what can look like quite a chaotic space potentially, so that they can provide things that work for most. But in the process of creating systems that work for most, actually, they don't necessarily work for anybody particularly well. There's just a group that sit in the center of that sort of do better than some, and that's not massively helpful. It reminds me of while I was doing the Army Staff College, crikey, 15, 16 years ago, learning how to be a major with a bunch of other people learning how to be majors. And one of the things there that they were talking about was, I think it was in the 60s, the US Department of Defense was working on a new fighter jet. And they made it based on who they thought the typical fighter pilot was. So they took all the data of all the fighter pilots there were, and they created it so that it fitted the one ideal one in the middle of all of that, and found that the aircraft worked for virtually nobody because some were too tall, some were too short. That there were a whole load of things that just didn't work. Because they went, oh, right, no, well, we've got all this data. We know what the ideal person looks like, which wasn't anybody. It was nobody. And I think there is a danger in the way that we look at things, trying to simplify them, that we lose a whole load of the population that's involved in those conversations and make them feel, or create the conditions for them to feel that they don't fit, that there's something not right with them, which is absolutely not true. We are all unique. Those of us that fit in, fit in the sort of neurotypical area probably don't really. There'll be something that pushes us out of it. It's a bizarre thing how we create problems out of trying to do the right thing. But I suppose it's the system trying to defend it that's the problem. It's like, okay, we've got an imperfect system. We know that. What can we do to improve it? Well, rather than, okay, no, but this is how it is. You're either in or you're out. And I think that's where we get stuck, is people defending viewpoints that are just trying to do the best they can with what they've got and not looking to see how they can grow their way out of it. It's already quite a clunky way of putting it, but hopefully that made a bit of sense.
Well, I do think you're right that people are doing the best they can according to what makes sense to them moment by moment. So maybe this is why that particular compliment from before is my favorite compliment. When people see something new, when they discover a possibility is a possibility that they never had any awareness of before or that they thought was impossible. Like, I feel like this is, I don't know, a gift or a way of providing value. There's a lot of ways to say it. I often hear it like seeing what's there to be seen. There's all these ways that we're infinite. They're there, whether you see them or not.
Yeah. Yeah. What comes to mind at the moment, as you were saying that, is the role that you and I play in the world. I'm going to break the metaphor even as I start it, but given that we're looking at things in an infinite capacity, I'm now putting it in a dark room. But anyway, it's an infinite dark room. We're just providing a spotlight on something that someone's, that's always been there. But because people have been working their way around it in the dark, they've just not been aware of it. And sometimes they just catch a glimpse of it and go, "Oh, what's that?" And then it's lost again. Still there, still there. Our job is to try and work out where they are so that we can provide the best direction in which to shine the spotlight so they get a better view of it for themselves.
And in that, can I just check with you about in that, it's not finding more precise, accurate words. It's co-creating or inviting the other person who we're communicating with to have an experience. So that's where they find whatever they find,
100%.
whatever they're looking for. Yeah, they have to be looking in their own experience, not to my words or your words.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the dark room I'm describing is it's within us, if that makes sense.
Right.
This is stuff we all have. It's not, we're trying to, it's not a computer game where we're running around, picking up coins and treasure and bits and pieces. It's not that. This is stuff that we have already.
Yeah.
And it is a wonderful thing to experience when someone sees something at that level and they go, "Oh, wow." And they almost change color. And the lights come on in their eyes like, "Okay, cool. Let's talk about
confetti
that."
drops from the ceiling.
Well, maybe not that. I haven't experienced that. Maybe I need to move to Ho Chi Minh City. But something has shifted, and that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I love it. I love being part of like instigating or catalyzing or just pointing, look in this direction. What do you see? Oh my gosh, wow, I never saw that before. Like it's such a rewarding thing to be part of with people.
Yeah. No, it's an exciting thing to explore, and every conversation is an opportunity to explore it in a subtly different way, because we have no idea where someone else is starting from.
Yeah.
So part of the fun for me is working out how to get to them in a way that we can walk together rather than walking parallel or across purposes. If we can get together and travel together, we're more likely to understand what they see the obstacles to be, and we work out how to navigate around them.
Yeah. Or through them.
Or under them, or whatever. Just navigate them.
Yeah.
Dunzan, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Before we close, is there anything that you've got coming up in the next month or two that you'd like to share with the listeners? And you obviously mentioned your WhatsApp and Discord communities, and I can share the links to those in the show notes to this. But is there anything else that you've got going on that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Well, just that let it be simple as my sort of home base now. Letitbesimple.com. It has the Simple Book of Infinity, and it has the links to the Discord and WhatsApp communities there. So basically, that's the only link. Letitbesimple.com. And I'd love to hear from people who watch this or listen to this and picked up on something new. Like what did you hear, or what did you notice inside yourself that perhaps you hadn't noticed before? Something extraordinary amidst the ordinary, or something unfamiliar amidst the familiar. That's where my curiosity sort of points. And when I have the good fortune of being in conversation with people who are willing to look sort of with those lenses on, like their reality goggles are set for noticing unfamiliar amidst the familiar and extraordinary amidst the ordinary. They see the most amazing things, and so yeah, I'd love to hear from anybody who had an experience like that listening to us today.
Awesome. No worries. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been lovely to chat.
Well, thank you, Dave.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed the conversation, feel free to subscribe and join me and my new guest next time. If you're interested in the work I'm doing, or you think I can be of service to you or your organisation, please email dave@simplicityofmind.co.uk. Remember, see if you can find time to slow down and reflect. Those simple ideas might be worth listening to. Take care, and I hope you can join me in a couple of weeks.